When you're ready.
110 million. That is the number of animals killed annually in U.S. research laboratories. The creation of new medications and products seeking approval from various industries places great responsibility on animals to serve as test subjects for experimentation. This being said, the remaining carcasses and tissues, which still contain toxic chemicals and radioactive materials, are disposed of into the environment. Because conducting biomedical research on animals requires extensive resource use, produces toxic waste products, harms human health, and bears immense costs, animals should not be used for biomedical research. One of the most pivotal environmental concerns with testing on animals is the significant amount of resources it uses, despite a lack of efficacy. For example, toxicity tests are conducted on animals to evaluate the safety and efficacy of new drugs and chemicals. However, these specific tests use thousands of animals and take years to provide accurate results, making them simply too costly, too time-consuming, and too imprecise. According to researcher Catherine Groff, it took 30 years and $2 billion to screen 300 chemicals using traditional toxicity tests. The rate at which new chemicals are approved doesn't make up for the immense cost of approving them, draining the biodiversity of the ecosystem and the economy of revenue, proving that animals should not be used for experimentation. Chemicals, among the most prominent resources used in animal research, are yet another example of large-scale resource depletion. Although necessary to ensure a sanitary environment, the sterility of the equipment, and the safety of the test subjects, chemicals are often toxic and have carcinogenic or cancer-causing abilities. According to the Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee, these hazardous chemicals used in research facilities make their way into the environment or into the organisms themselves, either through animal waste or animal feed. Because most animal studies are conducted over a long period of time, chemicals are used in large capacities for a considerable time, intensifying the harm of animal testing on the environment. On top of extensive resource use, the production of waste and pollution is another defining feature of animal research. Animal bodies, contaminated with toxic or hazardous chemicals, viruses, or infectious diseases are discarded after use and are most commonly placed into an incinerator to be burned. Incineration, in turn, pollutes the air as facilities emit reactive, toxic wastes and air pollutants like mercury and lead. Because chemicals can be transported through air, water, and soil, they often end up in locations far away from where they were originally incinerated. Contaminated soil from the burning of animal carcasses can lead to the contamination of groundwater, introducing the rising issue of drugs in public water supplies, and the harm of aquatic animals. As research by people for the ethical treatment of animals, the average length of time from target discovery to approval of a new drug is about 14 years, in which the failure rate exceeds 95%, and the cost per successful drug can be $1 billion or more. Because of these high costs and low efficacy rates of drug approval, and the environmental contamination resulting from animal testing, animals should not be used for biomedical research. However, the environment and ecosystem is not the only thing suffering from the use of animals in experimentation. Laboratory workers, and even those far away from research facilities, face health consequences. Deemed an occupational hazard by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, laboratory animal allergy, or LAA, describes symptoms resulting from exposure to animal allergens. LAA can be obtained through direct skin or eye contact with materials, animal bites, and handling contaminated needles. In addition to allergies, researchers can also receive a sometimes deadly laboratory-acquired infection through contaminated tissues, equipment, or supplies. For example, at Yerkes Regional Primate Research Center, a researcher was infected with herpes B after being exposed to bodily fluid from a monkey test subject. Following this exposure, the researcher died 6 weeks later. For individuals living in locations farther away from testing facilities, toxic and carcinogenic chemicals burned and emitted in incineration can be inhaled by humans and cause both neurological damage and birth defects. Because animal testing negatively affects beings other than the animals themselves, animals should not continue to be used in this kind of research. With a lack of environmental and economic efficacy in animal testing, other alternatives and solutions have and continue to promise success. One of the most promising of them all, organ on a chip. Geraldine Hamilton, speaking about the creation of organ on a chip, described its design as a recreation of the human body on a chip, accurately resembling the strength and mechanical forces cells experience inside the human body. Because these conditions are mimicked in the device, diseases can be modeled and treatments can be tested without the use of animals. For example, by adding bacteria and human white blood cells into the chip, researchers can observe how these white blood cells would react and work to determine what the body's immune response would be. The future of organ on a chip appears to be even more promising for the future of drug, treatment, and chemical testing. Hamilton states that the future of this technology is to create a human on a chip in order to make more efficient and accurate predictions on what will happen in humans without excessive resource use, pollution, or the allergies and infections associated with animal testing. The consistent use of animals for biomedical research continues to deplete the environment of valuable resources and contaminates the few resources that remain. However, working to implement more efficient, less damaging, non-animal alternatives opens the door for the revolutionizing of the future of medicine. Applying proposed solutions prevents 110 million animals from dying in laboratories each year, prevents the jeopardizing of human health, and prevents chipping away at the already so delicate and damaged environment.
Huge round of applause from the thousands of people here. I've got a couple of questions. What evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and why did you choose not to use it?
When initially researching information to support my argument, I gathered information about resource use, waste production, human harm, and reduced biodiversity in animal testing. After furthering my knowledge, I decided not to use the evidence I recorded on biodiversity, as I did not feel it added any valuable information to my argument. I wanted to find evidence that best supported my environment-based claim, and biodiversity felt only loosely connected to the rest of my much stronger research.
Okay, thank you. Another question. What advice would you have for other researchers who are considering this topic?
For other researchers who are considering exploring the use of animals in biomedical research, I would recommend gathering information from multiple sides of the argument. In my case, I found it extremely helpful to understand both the environmental lens, which did not support animal testing, and the scientific lens, which supported the use of animals, to make comparisons and draw accurate conclusions.
Okay, thank you very much.